Well, I'm so glad to hear your voice. So good to see your face. I
Yeah.
saw that you had put that post up recently, and I thought it would be good for us to reconnect because usually when we do interviews with clients, it's like right after they've gone through the process and used our method. And now that we've been doing this for a while now, we're seeing some people like yourself who we worked with years prior. And now, they've kind of taken their life in a different trajectory than where they were headed before. And I think that it really offers this really awesome opportunity for us to like distill some of the lessons that maybe you've like really learned about relapse prevention, how to like continue that forward momentum, how to not just improve your mental health, but improve other areas of your life. I know you've been working on those. And so I'm excited for today's discussion. I think it's really going to help a lot of people out, especially people
Mhm.
who've got concerns and questions about like, can this really last? Can I really like get past my depression, my anxiety, my emotional issues, and can it last? And that's their big concern. And I imagine that was maybe a concern for you too. Was that a fear that you
Yeah.
had, like as you were using our method originally?
Yeah, I remember a few months after finishing and graduating, it did cross my mind. I thought, okay, I've just got to keep going because my biggest fear was relapsing because I had other methods I had used. I had relapsed in the past, so I thought, oh God, what if this happens again? But my mind had changed by then, and I thought, no, I'm not going to relapse. I'm not going to relapse. I need to redo. I was recommended to redo the course every 3 to 6 months. Even though I was feeling good after 3 months, I thought, no, I'm still going to do it and just get it into a good habit.
Hmm. Yeah. And is that what
Yeah,
you did? Did you do
yeah,
it every couple of months? That's
yeah,
good.
that's correct.
And I would assume the reason why we do that is it's kind of like it's kind of like watching a movie another time. Like you'll pick up on things the second time around that you didn't the first time.
Yep.
It's not usually that it's very, very rare that when people go through the class a second time, they're like starting from ground zero. I can't remember the
Mm.
last time that ever happened. It's usually they're doing quite well. They've implemented a lot of really, really good foundational things. And the second time through, they're able to take things to the next level. So maybe that would be really useful to maybe kind of unpack like where, first of all, just for people who don't maybe know your story, can you give us kind of the like 2 minute synopsis of where were you originally that kind of caused you to want to get help in the first place? And then we'll talk about like what you learned through that first initial couple months real quick. And then we'll mainly focus on what you've been doing since then.
Yep. So beforehand, for a very long time, for about 18 years, I was seeing psychiatrists, psychologists. I was on various different types of medication, heavily drinking other substances. My model of the world was essentially pure hatred. I was just so angry with everyone. I actually, one of my beliefs that managed to work out when I was telling people was eye for an eye. I had such anger and just wanted to, I've had such pure emotion of wanting to hurt other people. It was feeling so strong. There was nothing good about any of it. I was very depressed, had severe anxiety. My diagnosis was bipolar disorder, and then it changed to schizoaffective disorder.
Mhm.
Um, over the time. And I
Yeah.
was, yeah, yeah, it was pretty bad.
And in
And
terms of like the day-to-day living, like the big thing I remember with you, because I think a lot of people listening may not necessarily like the anger thing and the rage may not be like
hmm
something that everybody taps into, but that like super strong reactivity to
oh
other
yeah,
people's behaviors, right? Like feeling like if other people don't do what I want or say what I want, then I'm going to have this knee-jerk emotional reaction. And that was very much where you were at. Yeah.
oh yeah. I had rules for every single little thing. This saying people had to do what I say, people had to react the way I wanted, otherwise I wasn't going to stand it, and I had to do something about it.
Right.
Those
Right.
specific rules, these things had to happen, otherwise I couldn't stand it. It
Right.
wasn't, there was nothing in between. It was an extreme reaction, or it was nothing at all. Either I'd want to do something or I would do something to myself, which would usually be downing a bottle of Jack Daniels,
Right.
something to, that was it. It was just pure anger.
Now,
And I was
do you
sorry.
think it'd be fair to say that you were directing a lot of anger outward because there was really just a big lack of like self-love and self-acceptance? Like
Yeah.
it was just easier to blame
Yeah.
other people. Yeah.
Oh, it was so much easier to blame other people. I didn't want to look in myself. I thought there's nothing wrong with me. And then a minute later, it'd be pure misery and just pure hatred going, well, I'm not worth it. I'm not good enough. I'm a
Right.
bad person. People obviously see me as a monster. Therefore, I'm going to act like a monster when there was nothing,
Right.
when
Right.
they weren't. People were seeing things as they were. That was just how I was seeing myself. But
Right.
it was way easier and gave me a little bit of temporary power to
Yeah.
be blaming other people and
Yep.
just going, oh
Yep.
no, it's up there, it's on them, it's on them.
Yeah.
I'm above all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's sort of that like easy, accessible way to reclaim that feeling of significance is
Yeah,
to like make believe that we're superior to somebody else when
yeah,
really we're doing that because we feel so small. And then similarly, we'll usually go to something like alcohol because I know you've been very open about your journey with alcohol, but we'll usually go to something like alcohol as a way to very easily regain that sense of control, like to get our mind to stop spinning so much, or to at least just feel a little bit of comfort for a short period of time, just to get out of that state. So it usually comes from months or years of the brain getting conditioned to feel insecure and uncertain. And so that's usually when people start going to the patterns of anger and alcoholism and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So let's quickly take a few minutes and let's just, I'm curious how your perspective maybe has changed because clearly you've made the change last, which is awesome. And I think you might have a different perspective now, a couple years later, than you did back then in terms of like what really made that possible. So, as you were going through the program, as you were using our method, do you kind of remember a couple of the key things that maybe made the difference for you, like a couple of the big highlight moments that might be useful for somebody else to get a bit of an idea of?
Um,
Like,
like
how was it
specifically,
different? How was it different from psychiatry and all the other stuff?
it was just in my experience with actually being given methods and being trained to use those methods instead of talk therapy, instead of lashing out and then paying $800 and then coming back next week. Specifically focus actually talking going to the specifics of specific beliefs, actually questioning the beliefs, and getting into practice of those beliefs, like the four questions. I don't know if you've changed it, changed the title, but it's like the four questions that change your life.
Sure, sure,
Just
sure.
questioning every single belief. It's like, and I can just imagine telling my little child self, just questioning every belief, like, is that really true?
Right.
And then going, are you absolutely sure that's true? Are you absolutely sure? Do you actually have all of the evidence? And then I get
Yes.
stuff. I don't even get past the first question. I just go, is that really true? Oh no. Okay, right, good.
Right.
Just questioning every single little belief and working on how you react to other people. Like no
Yes.
matter what, it's controlling on how you react. So controlling what you focus on, you control the language and the meaning, and controlling your physiology.
Yes. Yes. And would you say that, because for most people, it seems that that is sort of the initial thing, but and then also it's about making sure that you get yourself to do the right thing automatically over a
Hmm.
period of time, right? You have to go from uh, unconsciously incompetent, where you don't know what you're doing wrong, to
Hmm.
consciously incompetent, right? Which is like, ooh, whenever this person says or does this thing, I make believe that it means this, or I focus on this. So I need to change that. Then you go to consciously excuse me, then you go to consciously competent, where you have to like, it's kind of like learning to drive a car for the first time. You're becoming aware of your automatic reactions. You're changing where your mind focuses. You're changing what you tell yourself. You're changing those beliefs. And then eventually, it sounds like you're now in the stage where you're basically at unconscious competence most of the time, where most of
Mm,
this is now just kind of hardwired and it's kind of automatic for you to be thinking in a positive way. Is that right or no?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And there was another one called the control room, which I now pretty much do unconsciously. Like I work myself getting riled up, and I just like give myself some sort of signal, just like just
Right.
count to five,
Right.
and then I
Good.
slowly go back to my emotional center of gravity, which is now calm, content, and joy. 99% of the time, it's rare that I get angry anymore.
Wow.
Um, I do get a little bit irritated, but I know how to deal with the situation, and I
That's
just
amazing. That's a
yeah,
huge turnaround from day
yeah,
one when I chatted with you. It
yeah,
was like 99% anger and rage back in the day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
yeah,
crazy.
just pure anger at everyone for everything, and now I'm just emotional sense of gratitude, just like calm,
Yes.
content, enjoy.
Yes.
I generally can't imagine getting angry again.
Yeah.
I do look back and just like remember these beliefs I had. I just go, oh, gross. Did I really
Right.
think like that? That's
Right.
embarrassing.
Right. So I want to unpack a couple things for people who are listening so that they can get
Yes.
some practical stuff on this too. So one of the things that Joan is referring to here is a practice where you basically take something that your mind has developed as an unconscious belief and you've told it to yourself so many times. And it's a way to basically break yourself out of the hypnosis because we only have certain negative emotions in response to certain negative beliefs. And so there's a four-part process, but just the very first part is useful enough for people, which is if you were to tell yourself something like, I don't know, for you, Joan, maybe back in the day, it might have been like, oh, it's all their fault, something like that. So if somebody
Yeah.
says something like that to themselves, what you can do is you could ask yourself, well, hold on a second, is that really true? Yes or no? And just by getting in the habit of asking yourself, is that really true? And then the second question Joan was saying is like, can you absolutely know that it is true, that it's their fault? It helps you snap out of that sort of hypnosis. It helps you from being what I call fish hooked by that old belief, getting dragged into it. So, what Joan did over the course of the couple of months using our process is we have a process where you can literally map out each and every anxiety or depression causing belief that you didn't even know that you believed. And then you systematically challenge those and they get redacted, they get turned around. And
Mm.
there's a new way I teach this now, Joan, where I basically describe like those beliefs as being like the trunk of a tree, and then all
Mm.
of your anxious thoughts are like the branches off of the tree. So what most people do is they use a lot of coping mechanisms to like prune the tree, just to get rid of the thoughts, but they don't really ever address the core belief that's causing all of the thoughts. So once you do that, everything changes. Another key thing I want to point out about Joan's story, and this is a good segue, I think, into your sobriety because you just recently hit 2 years sober, correct?
Yeah.
Huge
Cheers. Yeah.
milestone. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And so one thing for anybody now, there's a lot of people listening who may not necessarily have had a problem with alcohol, but I guarantee you, if you've got lots of anxiety or anger or depression or whatever it is, I guarantee you, you can learn something from Joan's story because you, whether you know it or not, probably do have an addiction, right? For some people, it's their phone. For some people, it's, too much TV to the point that they don't feel good about themselves. It's just to try to numb. For some people, it is a substance. For some people, it's, some sort of behavioral pattern of some kind, oversleeping, undersleeping, something like that, overeating maybe. And one of the key things that I learned early in my career, and Joan, I want you to let me know what you think about this, but I learned that usually people try to break a bad behavior. They focus on the behavior. So they say, like, man, I'm drinking too much. Let's stop drinking. But then the relapse is almost inevitable. And what I learned is that it's almost inevitable because people do certain behaviors when they get into certain emotional states. So if correct me if I'm wrong, John, but for you, you were getting in this anger and depressed state, and your mind like you just craved a release from those
Yeah.
states. Is that right?
That's
Right.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so by us focusing on, well, how do we just make sure that you don't habitually get into a state of anger and depression and anxiety? Now we shift your emotional center of gravity. And once you shift your emotional center of gravity, your mind is no longer compulsively looking for that escape route from that state. Would you say that that fits your experience?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And also whatever the underlying, I definitely had an underlying belief that we looked into, and again, it partially those four questions. Um, and I don't even crave it anymore. It's just I don't see it necessary to actually drink whatever is gone. I can be surrounded by people who drink. I can be at a party, people are drinking, I'm having a lemonade. It doesn't bother me. The smell, I still have to be careful of, but that is what it is. Um, but I don't have any need to feel anger or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't bother me anymore.
Right, and it's not that
So
thing. It's not like you've moved past that stage where you have to like actively resist it
yeah.
and tell yourself no. You just automatically don't really feel inclined towards it.
I don't feel anything towards it.
Mhm.
I feel completely neutral towards it. Like my housemate, he had the bottle right there, and I know it's there, but that's it. It's just like,
Yeah,
okay, but that's it. It's
right.
not calling out to me like
Yeah.
it would in the past, because whatever the belief, the underlying belief, the underlying thing is gone.
Yes, exactly. And that's the beauty of using a conditioning based process rather than a coping based process, right? Because
Yeah.
now you've gotten to a state of mind where you don't have to actively resist it. You don't have to like talk yourself out of it. You don't have to like go meditate. You don't have to, go to a weekly therapy appointment to try to stay on the wagon, right? It's just your mind automatically is
Hmm.
going in a different direction, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And there's something tangible for people listening. I don't think I taught it this way to you back in the day, Joan, but this won't necessarily feel like super new information. But there's a new framework I teach. We call it the thought cycle, and so basically, it's there. You have a thought first, a feeling second, a behavior third, and then a result fourth. So we usually do it in like a little circle or a couple of squares. And the whole point is that if we take a behavior, like having a drink, most people fixate on the behavior and they want to change the behavior. But if we go, okay, well, hold on a second, what's the feeling that makes me want to engage in that behavior? You can
Mm.
pinpoint what the fuel is. It's kind of like if you want the car to stop running, just stop putting gas in the car, take the fuel out of the behavior. And then we can go, okay, well, let's say it's anger. We could simply go, okay, well, what are the thoughts? What are each of the key thoughts or the beliefs that I keep saying to myself that trigger me to feel angry? And once
Hmm.
we pinpoint those, now we've got the real root of the problem, right? And then we just got to effectively replace those.
Yep.
So that's what you've done. That's amazing, and that's really awesome. So do you like what since you and I stopped working together, have you like has there been any kind of like thing that has been helping you stay on track, so to speak? Like, do you have some sort of a system that you use? Is there some sort of like a daily ritual that kind of, helps you, or like what do you do that's enabled you to have such long-term success and avoid relapses?
Um, so every morning, I meditate for 10 minutes. I write down 10 things I'm grateful for and 10 I am affirmations and say it out loud. Um, I also do flex in the mirror and just because it took a long time to actually for me to stare at myself in the mirror and actually say to myself, "I love you." That was really, really hard at first. Now it's just like nothing, and I really, really enjoy it. And I do
Right.
like flexing because I go to the gym quite a lot. I went to a trainer for about 3.5 years. I recently gone to the gym now.
Cool.
Um, I always try to turn things around. I always in my head saying what I'm grateful for. Like even if I bump into someone, I go, okay, it could have gone worse. It could have gone a different way. I'm grateful it didn't. Uh,
Yeah.
Anyone who says anything to me, I just respond with something more positive.
Yes. Good.
And if I am having a really struggling day, um, I actually do try to aim it and actually question those beliefs. If they do come back, we're going, okay, well, there's the evidence of them. Like, well, actually, are you sure about that?
Right.
Are you sure about that? It's just
Right.
I just continue to question the beliefs.
Yeah, that's good. And you're killing the
Yeah.
monster while it's small. That's a key thing.
Oh, oh yeah, before it gets any bigger. But
Yeah.
that did happen in about November last year. I did have a bit of an issue, but that was related to beliefs that I hadn't actually paid attention to. I just thought, no, 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 there's nothing wrong with them. And then until they were actually right in front of me, I had to deal with it.
Yes.
But look, but I had really, really good support then. I was surrounded by really good support, and and I'm in a really good habit of when I do need help, just ask for it. There's nothing to be
Yeah.
ashamed of
Yeah.
asking for help. Just
Yeah.
reach out for help. There's a lot of people who are willing to help.
That's awesome.
So
That's really awesome. Yeah, I love that. Like noticing when your mind is about to go down a spiral and,
yeah,
killing that monster while it's small, like making sure
yeah,
you challenge that assumption. Like that's a huge thing.
yeah,
And, I do want to point out too that you've got a daily system in place for
yeah,
maintenance, which is a really key thing. We always have found with clients that if we have some like just like a muscle is not going to stay strong unless you're, consistently exercising it. Our nervous system, our body, our muscles, every single thing, including our brain, it responds to conditioning. So,
mm,
having something with regularity is really,
yeah,
really key for making sure that you've got that long-term thing. There's a phrase I remember which is like discipline equals freedom. Like if you have the
yeah,
discipline to just do the right things, even 10 minutes a day, you have all of the freedom on the back end of making sure that you get to feel how you want to feel. It's just most people don't know what
Yeah.
those right things are to do for them in those 10 minutes. Um, One key thing I want to talk through for a second is when you and I first met, it seemed that your mind predominantly focused more so on the past more than like the present and the future. Would you say
Yeah.
that is right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And so
Mm.
like for you, I'm curious, like do you feel like you're operating more in a mode of let me just take it day by day, moment by moment? Like are you very grounded in the present, or do you have kind of like a exciting, compelling vision of the future that you're like looking forward to and moving towards? Like what is it that's because I think that's a big part of probably what's kept you on a really good
Yeah.
path.
Well, when I got sober and everything like that, and after the program, I pretty much felt unstoppable because I just thought, oh, I've actually made it through.
Yeah.
This, what else can I do now? What's next? So I do focus on the moment, but I also think, okay, I can now do this, and I kind of gave myself like a goal, sort of, because I'm currently in finance. I'm an accountant. I do want to change careers because I do actually want to help people go through with their addiction, go through their recovery.
Cool.
Um, I've and just help them, just give them another avenue, like not just what they currently have, but we have over here with rehab and everything. Like if it works for them, that's absolutely fine. But I want to be able to be another person who can tell them that it is possible.
Yeah.
Um, and change the language slightly, like that, change it from recovery to recovered. Because when people
Mhm.
do ask, I say I don't drink. And if they ask more of a story, I just go, I'm recovered.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
I keep that very important, and I practice
Yep.
that
That's right.
as well. I do stay in the moment and just enjoy and create memories with everyone. So I've got a lot. I have quite a lot of energy because everyone's having a few drinks or whatever, and I'm just dancing around. But that's just on water because that's no alcohol because I've got a lot of energy, and I'm just enjoying it, and I'm enjoying remembering all of this because I'm not drinking, and it's really really fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So have there been other areas of your life that have changed? Love life or, is there anything else that you want to kind of share that once that sort of like baggage of all of the mental patterns were out of the way, like has that freed you up to set your mind to other things specifically?
Yeah, so I went back to the UK a few months ago to see my family. I definitely got a better relationship with my parents, my brothers. It's really, really good. It's also a different relationship because again, the language has changed. So I'm not acute. So I'm not blaming them for anything. Of course, that doesn't do anything. I'm just more having a conversation, going, look, I am actually talking to them about things that bothered me when I was growing up, because I kind of just want to resolve it with them, just more internally and with them, because they did the best they could with what they were for their generation. And I just said, look, I remember this is how it made me feel, which led me to this. And we actually had a nice conversation, and it internally resolved because they acknowledged it. They apologized. I apologized for my behavior because I was a teenager, of course. And it's a really really good relationship now.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. It sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, but what I would imagine made it possible for you to create a breakthrough with your family was you being able to break out of that old singular story that you were telling yourself and to be able
Yeah,
to go, all right, well, maybe I created a set of beliefs about this, but they had a different perspective, or, maybe
yeah,
what maybe the intention behind their actions was totally different than what I internalized it as. Is that right?
yeah.
Okay.
That's right. And it was also again starting off small with the beliefs. It was just like my dad was never there for me. And so I started questioning those beliefs. I go, that's no, that's not true. Even my gut right now would just go, no, that's not true. And here are the reasons why. And then
Yeah.
I just started from there.
Yeah, that's
Just
awesome. That's one of the key things that we always are talking about with repairing relationships is making sure that you build the habit of attributing positive intent because um, it's very, very rare. Not that it doesn't happen, but it is very rare for a human being to do something to another human being with only malicious intent.
yeah.
It's a very, very small fraction of human behavior that really is truly coming from a very nasty place. Usually,
Yeah.
even when people are doing what seems like a very nasty, ugly thing, there is a good intention behind it. And the vast majority of human behavior is someone is really trying to do a good thing. They're doing something really with a good intention, but the other person on the receiving end internalizes it. So like that belief you had of like my father was never there for me, what that really it means is your father wasn't there for you in the way that you wanted him to be there for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And what people forget is we filter everything through our rules, through our
Yeah.
expectations. So by waking up from that, you get to have a much wider set of perspectives. By having a much wider set of perspectives, you get to step into other people's shoes. And that makes it so much easier to repair relationships. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, you also, I remember, if you're comfortable sharing, I remember you had there were some hangups that were happening with love life way back in the day, right? Like getting frustrated, say like you were interested in somebody, they weren't interested, that kind of thing. Do you feel differently about love? Like, have you been, pursuing your dating life in a different way?
Yeah. Just not taking things personally. Really, it's just people are who they are, like they're interested in who they're interested in. I can't control that. That was another one of the biggest things was accepting that I can't control other people. It's actually an exhausting belief even to this day to think about it. I can't
Yeah.
control or influence, so I'm just not going to worry about it. It is what it is. There's no timeline for me, and it's just enjoying meeting new people and getting into a good habits of
Awesome.
just showing who I really am. I'm not faking anything for anyone. I'm not going to accept anything less than what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
And it is what it is. Meeting a lot of
that's
nice
awesome.
people, but
I love
not
that.
settling. Yeah.
The
So
what's amazing about you, Joan, it's incredibly beautiful because what you've done is you've made it so that your self-worth is not up for negotiation anymore. It's not up for
yeah,
negotiation based off of what anybody else says or does or
yeah,
how they react to you. And what like the real you, like the you I see right here is like there's a strength that comes from that and there's a beauty too, because you're no longer like hiding from yourself. You're no longer like
mm,
playing small, but just like you're bringing the real you out to the table. You know what I mean? You're not like
yeah.
putting a mask or a shield up. So that's really awesome to see. I'm thrilled.
Mm.
Um, so, what would you say to somebody who is in particular their big fear is, well, like what if I really like work really hard and I do make some changes and I, have a little bit of a momentum behind me like I've had before, but then what if I, like what if it doesn't last? What if I, relapse? What if something bad happens? Like what would you say to somebody who's really just not fully bought into the idea that lasting changes with your mentality, your emotions, your behavior, that they really can last because you're obviously living proof of that, but you're living proof of that because you followed a set of principles.
It's just being consistent. It's always following through. It's trusting the process.
Hmm.
Um, just not stopping and if you miss a day or miss something, don't beat yourself up. That's the biggest thing. Just when your self-worth grows, yeah, you're pretty much unstoppable. um so I don't think how else to word it. It's just essentially trusting the process. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Like no matter if you're in a bad mood, where even when you're going through, actually the best time to push yourself through, the best test is when you're in a negative emotional state. You get to the point where you think, "Oh, I just won't do it today." That's when you go, "No, no, I'm committed now. Let's do this. I know this will pass." It's also telling yourself, "This is a temporary feeling. This will pass."
Yes. Yes. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think one thing that can help people to get started too is like the 80-20 rule, right? Where what I see a lot of people do is they will start doing the right things. And I even see this sometimes when people get started at using the method and go through our program. They start doing the right things, and then something happens in their life that disrupts them. Their kid gets sick or they get called into work or whatever. And so they like miss a day or they miss a couple lessons. And then they think, oh my gosh, because I missed that one thing, it's all over. It's all gone.
Mm,
I got to start over. And people have this very binary view where it's like I either have to follow through perfectly, or if I'm not totally confident that I'm going to follow through perfectly, I just can't get started. And it's
yeah.
much more about like the 80-20 thing, right? It's like, and I know you're passionate about fitness, so I'm sure this will resonate with you, but it's not like you can never ever eat sweets ever again in order to be
Mm,
healthy, right? It's not that you have to work out every single day without fail. It's that you
mm,
just need to do the healthy habits the majority of the time.
Mm,
You need to create a lifestyle, and you need to, more importantly, get your nervous system automatically inclined to do what is healthy for you. And so long
yeah.
as you do that, of course, there's flexibility, right? But new actions create new destiny. Will create a
Yep.
new set of results. So, and you're living proof of that. So that's awesome. Last question for you. What are you looking forward to? Like, what's next on the horizon for you, either short term or long term? You've clearly created a huge amount of sustainability. There's so many things that used to consume you daily that are now just not even a problem anymore. Like, what's ahead of you?
Uh, well, I want to help people, so I'm working towards that. I just want to see how I'm going to get there. That's my next goal. Um, and just making people laugh. Really, just like lifting people up instead of feeling as though I brought people down at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm at a point. I mean, I trust myself 100% that I will be able to hopefully make a difference with other people going through what I went through.
Yeah.
And giving them the idea that there are other ways to deal with your mental health other
Yes.
than the normal system.
That's awesome.
So
I
hopefully
love
I'll be able to continue to prove that. So
pay it forward. Yeah, that's
yes,
awesome. I love that.
pay it forward.
I love that. Well, let me know if you need any help. We've had some alumni who have kind of a similar story to you. They've gone through the process. They've, moved past their own stuff and they wanted to pay it forward. We've had a couple clients who we've worked with to help like launch their own coaching business or different things like that. So there's all sorts of people out there who need help. There's all sorts of ways to help them. And there's, as you
Mm,
know now, there is a sort of common thread. There's a set of skills, there's a system that works, right? And
mm,
so, we can mold and adapt to the principles in that system that works in a variety of different situations. So,
hmm
I have all the confidence in the world that you've got certainly the ability to do that. So it'll be really exciting to see the lives that you change. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
Good. Well, you're changing lives just by being here today. So thanks for sharing your story and your gift and just your strength and your beauty and your personality and your humor. It's all a gift to everybody who's going to be witnessing this. So thanks again for showing up. And it's not goodbye, just see you later. So keep us
No,
tuned in on your progress.
no, thank you so much, Ty. Thank you so much.
All
Really
right, Joe.
appreciate it so much. Thank you so
Absolutely. All
much.
right. See ya. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.